This is Lesson 4 of Introduction to Biblical Hebrew with Kittel and Hoffer, beginning on page 29. This is a pretty important lesson. A lot of things get covered here, so make sure to pay attention to this one particularly well. Here's our sentence for this week. First task is to pronounce the sentence in Hebrew, so give that a try. So the first word, velo, and then shama, ha-melech, el ha'am. Then all together, velo shama ha-melech el ha'am. So here's one of our vocabulary words, melech, which means king. So ha-melech means the king. Here's our doubled mem, dagesh forte, and you remember that it's doubled because the definite article is he patak, double. The definite article doubles the first consonant of the word to which it attaches. Okay, so now the word am at the end is another vocabulary word meaning people. So here we have ha'am, which means the people. Now you will notice that here we have a different form of the definite article. Instead of he patach double, it's he kametz. So the question is, why is the ayin not doubled? Well, you will remember from our dagesh lessons that the gutturals in resh do not take dagesh forte. So ayin aleph he chet resh will never take a dagesh. So when the definite article tries to double the ayin, the ayin refuses the dagesh. So what happens in this case is that the vowel under the he becomes lengthened. So here you could see the attempt to put the dagesh in the ayin. The ayin rejects the dagesh and bounces it back out, so it becomes a lengthened vowel. Now, because the first syllable now remains open, since there's no dagesh, there's no doubled ayin, then the vowel under the he lengthens so that the consonant vowel can stand as an unstressed open syllable. We call this phenomenon compensatory lengthening. That is, the kametz lengthens from a patach in order to compensate for the lack of the dagesh. So when the dagesh cannot go into the ayin, the patach compensatorily lengthens to become a kametz. You'll also notice in this word that the vowel of am, the patach there, lengthens to a kametz, ha'am. This is just a quirk of this word. It's an irregular word that lengthens when it's definite. So it is not important for us grammatically to know why this happens, but just remember that it does happen. So am with a patach, ha'am with a kametz. Okay, then we have el, which is also a vocabulary word. This is one of our prepositions meaning to. So it is linked to ha'am with a makef, meaning that these two words should be read and translated together. El ha'am means to the people. Beginning of the word, velo. Lo, of course, is one of our vocabulary words, and va is the conjunction meaning and or but. So velo means and not, or but not. So if we were to translate as much of the sentence as we know, which is actually almost the whole thing, how would we translate? The subject of the verb is the king. So the king did not do something or other to the people. Now the question is, what did the king not do? This is our verb, shama. This is a form of the verb that we have not encountered, or at least we've not discussed before. I think we've encountered it in some of our Psalms. So what do we know without knowing what exactly the form of the verb is? In this case, the root is fairly clear. There are only 3 letters here, and none of them are weak, and so we can assume this is the root. So the root, Shema. The stem, we only know 2 stems right now, the Kal and the PL. The characteristic marker of the PL is a doubled second root letter. This one does not have a doubled second root letter, and so we can assume that this verb is Kal and not PL. We do not yet know the form or the person, gender, and number, and our special features, we only know one special feature, which is the Vav conversive, and this is not that, so we have no special features. Alright, now this form of the verb is something that we haven't parsed yet. So far, everything we've seen has been a prefix form, and specifically, everything we've seen has been a prefix Vav conversive. This is our first encounter with an affix form. Now, you will notice that this affix form doesn't actually have an affix. Every letter that's there is a root letter. This is because in the third masculine singular, the affix form is just the root. You've seen this actually in the vocabulary. Other person, gender, and number combinations will add an affix at the end of the word. So, for example, when we get there, we will learn that shamata means the affix is this tav with the comets, which means you heard. Shamati with the t suffix means I heard, and our word shema with a blank affix means he heard. So this is a third masculine singular form translated in the past tense. Now notice that in all of those different forms, the initial vowel under the first root letter is comets. This is the characteristic vowel of the Kal. So here we see shamata, here we see shamati, and here we see shema. In all cases, the first vowel is a comets. So this is what we call the characteristic vowel of the affix form in the Kal. So when you see a verbal form and its initial vowel is a comets, the first thing that you're going to think is that this is a Kal affix form. Now, in most cases, the Kal affix form has a second vowel as a patach, so it's our a form. This vowel is a little bit less reliable, although it occurs in most forms. However, in the third masculine plural, for instance, it becomes a shva, so shama'u. And so the comets is almost entirely reliable, although we'll see later that it's not exactly always reliable. And the patach is a little bit less reliable, but generally is found. So the standard form of the Kal affix verb for strong roots is 3 root letters, the first one with a comets, the second one with a patach. Pay attention to the comets. Okay, so now we can finish our chart for this verb. We know now that this form is an affix form, and that the person, gender, and number, given its lack of an affix, is third masculine singular. Now the affix form of the verb indicates completed action, whereas the prefix form of the verb indicates incompleted action or imperfective action. So the affix form generally can be translated in the past tense, he heard or he listened. This is another way of forming the past tense besides the Vav conversive, which we've already seen. The root Shema, of course, is familiar from Deuteronomy 6:4, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, means he heard or he listened. So now we can translate our whole sentence. Velo Shema HaMelech El Ha'am. and the king did not listen to the people. Contextually, you might want to read the vav as a but the king did not listen to the people. This would depend entirely on the sense of the sentence in its context. Alright, so that is the Cal affix form. We're going to go ahead and learn the PL affix form as well. The Cal stem, shama, halach, lakach. We see in each case we have our regular vowel of the Cal affix, which is a comets, and in these three cases we also have the patach, which is the secondary vowel. Now the PL affix form has a different set of indicators. So here is a PL affix form. This is the one root that we know so far that has its primary meaning in the PL. This is our old friend devar, or deber, which you know from vayidaber. As we've seen in the past with the vav conversive and the prefix form as well, the stem indicator of the PL is the doubled middle letter. So the first thing that you're going to do is look and see if there is a doubled middle root letter, and if there is, then you're thinking PL. The regular vowel of the PL in the affix form is the hirek in the first syllable. So here it's di. The helping vowel is the tsere, but it often disappears, and sometimes it changes to a patach. So it's pretty unreliable. In the third masculine singular, it's normally there. So here the standard form of the affix is deber. The name PL is actually just the vowels of the PL stem spelled out using the root Pei, Ayin, Lamed, which is a ridiculous root to use as your standard root. But anyway, that's what the ancient Masoretes did. So P-ale is the form of this verb, and you can see how P-ale and deber, it's just the vowel pattern of the PL. Like the Cal, the affix form also adds affixes to determine the person, gender, number. These are the same affixes that we've seen before. So the PL second masculine singular would be debarta, you spoke, I spoke, debarti, they spoke, diburu. You'll notice here that the dagesh in the second root letter is consistent, and the hirek under the first root letter is consistent, but in every case here we've lost our tsere under the second root letter. It's a patach in two cases and a shva in the other case, so you don't want to rely on it for determining the PL. Here's our form, deber, he spoke. Here we have the doubled root letter, here we have the hirek and the vowel. Now, we can compare the Cal and the PL affix forms. The stem indicator for the Cal is nothing. There is no change in the stem. In the PL, we expect the stem is indicated by the doubled middle letter, the dagesh in the second letter of the root. In the Cal, the regular vowel under the first root letter is a comets. In the PL, it is a hirek. A root that forms in the Cal is he lamed chaf, and the affix form of that word is halach. There you see no change to the stem, and the vowel, the regular vowel, is the comets. Our example for the PL is deber, the only one we know so far, and this is the way the PL affix typically looks. Okay, so that's the end of lesson 4. You now know the Cal and the PL, and you also know the vav conversive forms and the affix forms and sort of the prefix forms. So you have a basic knowledge of most of the forms that we'll encounter in Hebrew, at least in the third masculine singular regular form. So you've actually accomplished quite a lot this week. So you should be proud, and you should do your homework because you have a quiz coming up.